The recent incident at the tennis match has caused a disproportionate uproar across the internet, and strangely enough, it all comes down to a single hat, a signed cap meant for a young fan that instead became the symbol of arrogance, entitlement, and the fragility of reputation in the digital age. What should have been a heartwarming moment quickly transformed into a scandal that spiraled far beyond the tennis court, pulling in one of Poland's most prominent executives, destroying a career built over decades, and sparking a cultural debate that still rages on. At the center of the storm is Potra Sherik, the Polish CEO of Dragbrook, a paving and landscaping company that until recently had a respectable, if unremarkable, corporate reputation. That all changed in the span of just 10 seconds when, moments after tennis star Camille Masherac triumphed in a grueling 5-set match, he turned to the roaring crowd, removed his sign cap, and set his eyes on a boy named Brock who was pressed eagerly against the railing, his arms outstretched in anticipation of what would surely be the most unforgettable gift of his young life. It was the kind of generous gesture sports are built on, the kind of memory that would last a lifetime, a connection between hero and fan sealed by a simple exchange of fabric and ink. But just as Brock's fingers reached for the brim, Sherik leaned in from the side, snatched the hat without hesitation, and stuffed it into his wife's bag as though it were a prize he had earned. The boy froze in shock, the crowd gasped, and the cameras captured every detail. Within hours, the moment was online, clipped, shared, and dissected by millions. What began as a minor scene of bad behavior snowballed into a full-blown scandal because internet detectives quickly identified the man not as a random bystander, but as the CEO of a successful company, a wealthy businessman who, despite his status, had chosen to steal a gift from a child. The internet's reaction was swift and merciless. TikTok edits replayed the moment in slow motion with captions like, "fastest hands in tennis," and "he doesn't even play." Reddit threads mocked his smug expression. Twitter hashtags like #HatSnatcherSo trended worldwide, and memes transformed Brock's stunned face into the new shorthand for disappointment. But the outrage didn't stop at humor. Google reviews for Dragbrook collapsed overnight. Forums filled with boycott calls, and furious parents wrote that they were using the clip as a life lesson about greed and entitlement. What could have faded in a day lingered because Sherik himself fanned the flames, refusing to apologize and instead doubling down with a line that became infamous. "Life is first come, first served. I was quicker." That quote, screenshotted and shared endlessly, turned what might have been dismissed as a moment of clumsy rudeness into a defining symbol of arrogance, because in the public eye it wasn't just about stealing the hat, it was about stealing dignity, stealing sympathy, and showing no remorse. As the firestorm grew, Dragbrook's board scrambled in panic, their company's name now synonymous with greed rather than paving stones, employees waking up to discover their company's ratings collapsing to 1 star overnight with sarcastic reviews like, "Great paving, terrible parenting," and "Would you trust a CEO who steals from a child?" Major clients began asking pointed questions about whether they could continue working with a company led by a man who had become a viral villain. Insiders leaked that boardroom discussions turned urgent and heated, not over whether Sherik should step down but how quickly they could sever ties before the scandal threatened their contracts and revenue. By week's end, the decision was inevitable. Sherik was fired, his removal framed politely in a statement about integrity and brand reputation, but everyone knew the real reason. He wasn't fit to lead because he had become a meme, a punchline, a liability. Screenshots of the press release went viral under captions like, "Actions have consequences" and "Bye-bye Hat Man," while comedians on late-night shows joked by holding up tennis caps and quipping, "Don't worry, it's safe, Sherik's not here." The story, which might have faded into a niche sports scandal, instead snowballed into international mockery, translated into multiple languages, and cemented Sherik's reputation as not just disgraced but ridiculous. Meanwhile, on the other side of the story, Camille Masherac faced his own dilemma, his simple act of generosity twisted into a scandal that carried his name whether he liked it or not. Rather than remain silent, he took control of the narrative, posting on Instagram, "That cap was meant for the young fan. Help me find him." The internet responded instantly, fans acting as digital detectives, tagging local journalists, scouring social media, and within hours locating Brock and his family. Masherac didn't just replace the stolen hat. He met with Brock personally, presenting him with a signed cap, a bag full of memorabilia, and a handwritten note. The photos of their meeting went viral, sparking headlines like, "Where Sherik failed, Masherac delivered," and "One act of greed, one act of grace." The contrast was powerful. One man clung to arrogance, the other embraced humility and generosity. Analysts pointed out that this was more than a sports story. It was a modern parable about how reputational risk can be as dangerous as financial loss. Marketing Week noted that Sherik's downfall was unique not because it was tied to corruption or fraud, but to something much simpler: basic decency. And in the age of social media, the appearance of selfishness could end a career just as swiftly as any scandal. Sherik tried to push back, claiming he was a victim of cancel culture, insisting in one now-deleted post, "Life isn't about waiting your turn. I was quicker." But the internet's judgment was already final. Fans mocked his attempt at defiance. One comment on X reading, "He didn't just steal the hat, he stole sympathy." Even his belated offer to meet Brock's family and apologize was dismissed as hollow damage control, summed up perfectly by a viral Facebook comment, "You don't apologize because you're sorry. You apologize because you got caught." By then, Sherik's reputation was beyond repair. He wasn't just unemployed, he was a cautionary tale, a case study in seminars for executives about the danger of every camera being live and every audience being global. Dragbrook, desperate to distance itself, faced stalled negotiations, hesitant investors, and clients openly asking what safeguards were in place to prevent another PR disaster. Their brand wasn't trending for its work, it was trending because of a hat. And as the world watched, Brock and Masherac's reunion became the ending Sherik had tried to steal, a feel-good counterpoint to the scandal, with clips of their meeting drawing millions of views. Sports commentators praising Masherac's instinct to step in as a masterclass in athlete-fan connection, and fans around the globe celebrating that generosity had triumphed over greed. Yet beyond the memes and jokes, the scandal raised deeper questions about the fragility of power and reputation in 2025. If one selfish act could topple a CEO, if a single hat could erase decades of professional success, what does that say about the true foundation of executive authority? Analysts suggested Sherik might one day resurface in a smaller role, perhaps start a new venture, but others were blunt. The internet doesn't forget, and children don't forgive. His name, forever tied to the image of stealing from a boy's outstretched hands, had become shorthand for arrogance, a permanent entry in the hall of internet infamy. As one columnist put it, the arena doesn't matter anymore. The audience is always global. Every gesture counts. In that truth lies the real ending of the story. While Sherik learned the lesson too late, Camille Masherac embraced it at the perfect moment, proving that humility resonates louder than arrogance. And Brock, the boy at the center of it all, walked away not just with memorabilia, but with a story that the world will never forget, a story that turned a stolen hat into a symbol of our times, a reminder that in an age where generosity is amplified and selfishness magnified, reputations live or die in seconds. Sherik's career ended not with a boardroom scandal, not with a financial collapse, but with the snatching of a cap, a 10-second decision that cost him everything, and in that irony lies the lesson. If one hat can destroy a CEO, imagine what the next viral clip will do.